We started off with 3 different bottlings from the Benromach Distillery, which is the smallest distillery in Speyside, Scotland, where their kind of claim to fame is to only use first fill barrels to make a much deeper depth of flavor in the product. Also 2 different yeast strains to add, again, another depth of flavor to the product, but to really showcase the quality of the smallest working distillery in Speyside, Scotland. Yeah, so we have a gentleman that's been working for Gordon Macphail for 40 years who does nothing but work with negotiates to pick out barrels, work with cooperages around the world to pick out barrels. And they look for not only the quality of the wood, but where the wood actually came from, whether it was Appalachian wood or French wood. Is it growing on this side of the mountain as opposed to that side of the hill? The quality of the cooperage that actually assembled those barrels, what was in those barrels previously, whether it was a bourbon barrel like Maker's Mark, or whether it was a sherry barrel from Portugal or Spain, an Olorosa sherry barrel, let's say. It could be a French wine barrel from Bordeaux, like we're doing some of our wood finished products from Benromach, using Chateau Sassac, Hermitage, and Sassicaia barrel finished products. But we have our negotiations that look for those 2% and higher quality barrels, and will hold those back and call us when they find these barrels for us to release these special award-winning products. We want to really highlight the distillate. So depending on whether the distillate from Macallan or Glenlivet or from Bunnahabhain, it doesn't matter where it's made. We'll have the guy try it from Gordon Macphail. For 50 years he's been trying distillate. He will be able to pick out the notes in there like a fine wine, and he will want to highlight those notes. He will know which of those notes are only part of the new make distillate and which ones will be there for an extended period of time. And he wants to be able to possibly either mask certain flavors or bring out the quality of other flavors by putting them in a special barrel. So you're not going to want to, let's say have a very robust bourbon, let's say a Buffalo Trace barrel. You're not going to want to put a very delicate distillate, Glenrothes, let's say, distillery product into that type of a barrel, especially a first make barrel, because it's going to drown out the specialness of that distillate. You may want to go with a refill larger size barrel for Maker's Mark, let's say, which is going to be lighter and maybe a little bit more smoke to it, but a little bit lighter, so that it will preserve the delicateness of that distillate in that barrel. So it's all based off of, what the distillate tastes like, what the environment was where it made that product that goes into that distillate, and whether or not we have the proper barrels that will help that distillate shine over a 8 to 15 to 50 to 75 to 100 years. It's one thing when you're looking at whiskeys that it doesn't necessarily matter how well known they are, how much of it's in the market, and what the price point is. You really want to look at how it's produced. Is it a grain to glass type product? Is it a product that its quality control is really sought after? The process is sought after in the industry to emulate. And with Gordon Macphail, because we're using only those top 2% quality barrels in the world, that people hope to release a product that's as good as ours. So our distillery, our products that we release in our barrels are always going to have a much greater depth of flavor to it than the distillery labeled products, because of the better barrel quality we're using.